Take your time and have a thirst for knowledge. Have a thirst for knowledge. Have a thirst for understanding of who you are.
Right.
Because like it's crazy. Like they say it that you're not going to be the same person at 18 than you are when you're 25. But like me being married at 18 and then me being at 25 and still being married and having another person look at me and tell me you're not the same. Like, oh no, dude, you don't realize that you're not the same. You're not going to be the same. So give yourself time. Give yourself the time that you need to grow, to experience, to become who you are. Because it doesn't, if you don't have to get married, if you don't even know that it's the one, like if it's not your time, it's not your time. My time was early. Some people's time is early. Some people know. But if it's not your time, don't let it be your time. Don't rush it. Focus on you. Too often we don't focus on fixing and healing ourselves. And then we get into something and broken people break people.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Journey to Fatherhood. I want to welcome you to another wonderful episode where we're going to be speaking with a wonderful guest. Now, before you go ahead, I just want to make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel. Make sure you're following us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever platform you're following us. Your support really helps us become more discovered. The more you like, the more you share, the more you subscribe and follow, it allows this message to go out. So without further ado, I want you to listen to this conversation I had with Devonte. It was an amazing and very well appropriate message for the time we're in, where we talk about Devonte being a man that got married at the age of 18 and became a father at a very young age. We talk about different things from expectations, struggles, realities, dreams, and goals. So I want you to listen into this, and I really know it's going to be beneficial for you. So go ahead and listen. Take care. Enjoy. You're listening to Journey to Fatherhood, a podcast that inspires and equips men to becoming more intentional and feeling more supported on the journey to fatherhood. Why wait to become a father before learning how to be a good one? My name is Chinedum, a young man also on his journey with a desire to help men become great fathers despite their past personal experiences. I'll be sitting with different guests to bring you great value, sharing their knowledge and their experiences as we all embark on this amazing journey. This podcast, though targeted towards men, ladies, you will also gain great value from the conversations. Now, without further ado, let the journey begin. Devonte, how would you describe yourself to the people that are listening, or what would be your way of introducing yourself?
So let's go. Let's start here. So hi, my name is Devonte Bennett.
Yeah.
I am a 26-year-old husband and father. And honestly, I just started out kind of just simply just like that. That's I won't say that's my entire makeup right now, but that makes up the entire being of who I am at the moment. It encompasses, those two words will encompass everything.
8 years ago,
Yeah.
8 years ago that you did that. That was 8 years ago. So you got married 8 years ago at the age of 18. Talk to us about that. How was that? How did that come about? And yeah, what was behind all of that at the age of 18, getting married?
Man, honestly, it came down a lot to it. A lot of it came down to, I mean, I still love my wife. I loved the hell out of that woman. It wasn't, when we got together, it wasn't really a question of, will I marry this woman? It was more of a question of, when am I going to marry this woman? Because I was like, we had, our relationship had been, we've been really good, really, really good friends. She was my best friend for a long time before she ended up becoming my girlfriend. Yeah. And before she got pregnant and we got married and whatnot. But it honestly, it came down to not duty, but responsibility. I knew that basically I had got this girl pregnant. And it was like, at that time, so we had got together shortly before, right after boot camp, I had came back to go see her. And that's when she had got pregnant. So it was like, okay. Before I had left the boot camp, I told myself, I'm gonna marry this girl. And this is me at 17. This is me. This is, like I said, this girl is my best friend. She had I had been in and out of my house since I think I was 15 and a half. I was getting like kicked out, going in and out, just running away. I had issues at home. So a lot of the times I would end up going to go stay with my best friend. friend, and I would stay at her house. Her family knew me, loved me, and like it was all love. So when we actually got together, it was like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm gonna marry you. That's of course, no doubt. I told everyone before I left. I was like, this is the girl I'm gonna marry. So when I came back, we got married in December. So about 6 months after I turned 18, we got together when I was 17, right before I had left.
Okay.
When I got back uh, and found out that she was pregnant, and she was telling me everything about it, it was just like, oh, like for me, I was already comfortable with the idea of being a father. I already dealt with it. I was like, oh, I might possibly be a father at a younger age, whatever, cool. I'm 18. I'm in the military now. I have things set up. Of course, I can take care of my family now. I don't have to worry about it. I'm not going to stress. Babe, let's get married. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go ahead. We're gonna knock it out. We're gonna get married now. We're gonna get you the health care. We're gonna do everything. We're gonna make sure we're all completely taken care of, and we're gonna do this thing. That was my thoughts. I was like, yeah, man, I'm ready.
Yeah.
I literally assumed I was ready because I had money. I had a place to stay. I was like, yeah, I'm ready. Let's go ahead. Let's get married.
Let me hold you up
I
there.
don't regret it. I have zero regrets that I got married. So yeah.
I like what you said there, because at the time you thought you said something about you thought you were ready because you had the money sorted, right? And of course we know, like we talked about this in the past, it's more than just being financially ready for marriage. Like there's a lot of growth, a lot of maturity that comes from it, understanding the other person. Now, at the age of 18, you're basically still teens. You're basically still in your teens. And I'm trying to understand. So let us know. So 18, you've been married for 8 years. And you have how many kids now? You have 3 kids, if I'm correct.
3 kids now.
You got 3 kids now. So how has that journey been? Because when I think about it, after our last conversation, I was just thinking to myself, like, what was I doing at the age of 18? I was still in school. I think I was just about to start uni. To think that you were a husband at the age of 18. Talk to us about, because I'm sure the journey has been very interesting in terms of discovering preferences, how to deal with each other, relationship management skills and stuff like that. How was it at the beginning, and how have you been working on it?
Okay. So, oh man. So the relationship at the very beginning. So our marriage is very, very unique. As that's the word I'd use for it. It's unique because I've never going through my marriage is the only I couldn't get I wouldn't have become the man I am, and I wouldn't have gained the experience I am without it, because I've learned so much. And like even just from I've been able to observe other people's marriages, and I haven't been able to find one to compare to mine, because our story and how everything happened is just so unique. So when we first got together, when we first got married, I was still in the camp. You go to like your school for wherever your job is, and you're typically gone for like 3 to 6 months. So we got married. She was pregnant. For what? I think she was already pregnant for, I think, like 3 months when we got married. And then I was gone for another 3, 4 months after we had just got married. I had to leave. We got married. I was with her, stayed at the house for I think 10 days or something like that. We were together. And then I had to fly across the country to go do more training for 3 months. So she was stuck at home in California. I was all the way across the country in like Florida or something like that. And I'm going to school, and basically she's at home with her mom. By the time when I had finally came home from school, I got stationed like something like 200 miles away from home in the state. It was in Arizona, just like right next to California, but where she lived somewhere sort of in like the middle of the state, and I was at the border of Arizona. So for the first year of our marriage, she did not move in. We had some issues, some early on issues in our marriage that had started because we got married so young. And this is the only regret, not even regret that we have, but like the only thing that we learned was we had infidelity in our marriage early on, because we got married early on. So it wasn't too like, not too surprising. It's really not surprising at all. The more and more I think about it, because I'm just like, man, we were young, we were dumb, we were doing things we weren't supposed. We didn't know what we were doing. Like we had no idea what we were doing. We thought we were ready, but we didn't really know. Working 200 miles away from home, I was driving every weekend to go see her and my son.
Right.
So I was driving 200 miles, and we did this for like a good like year and a half. That first year and a half was like really, it was hard. It was hard. We were separated. We were dealing with premarital issues. We were dealing with new issues of having married. We were dealing with, at the time, I felt like one of the biggest things that was leading me into depression was the fact that they were 200 miles away. I felt like a weekend dad. I like, dude, I remember feeling like a weekend father. I was like, I would come over there and I would have a connection with my son, but I was like, I only see you on weekends. Like, I was always scared that he was gonna forget me. I was scared that he wasn't gonna know who I was. It was just, it was a pain in the ass, and I couldn't get her to move in at that time because of just the depression and whatnot. She had never moved away from home. We were gonna move 200 miles away, and it was just like she didn't want to be alone with me. No support system. It was a lot, and it was like, okay, looking back now as a grown man, I'm like, okay, I understand these things. But as an 18-year-old, it just flung me into more depression. I was like, okay, so my wife's not coming to stay with me. I can't see my kid. I hate my work. Like, coming home, I would talk to my wife in the morning, and I would fall asleep, and I would sleep until I wake up to go to work again the next day. I was so depressed. I just wouldn't do anything. And it was like that for months. This is at the early stages of our marriage. We done been married. We're not even married a year yet, and we're dealing with this. Like, we barely made it through our first year. We were talking about getting a divorce, getting an annulment. We were like, we don't know if we were supposed to do this. It was bad. Barely made it through our first year. Decided we're gonna keep going because it was like I grew up like you said. All of our, my mom, she didn't get married young, but my mom had me young. She got married, I think, at like 22 or not 22, maybe like 23, 24, something like that. My grandparents got married young. So it was like, I've always seen marriage. I just never saw how hard it was. But I've never seen divorce either. All my parents worked through it. My grandparents worked through it. So it was always like, all right, I'm not getting a divorce. Like honestly, the first 2 years, because after the first year, I got deployed for 6 months. I got deployed for 6 months, came back, and it wasn't a whole new marriage, but we came back and we were closer because I had never been away for that really long. She was worried about me. We came back, we were closer, but we still had a lot of issues. Yeah, a lot of like trust issues, commitment issues, family issues that we didn't work through already.
I know there's no set time to get married or set time that this is the age that you should get married. But in terms of advising young people now, of course, would you still advise people at the age of 18 to get married?
No, I would only advise certain people because it all depends on your mindset. It literally all depends on your mindset. If you, one thing I knew about marriage going in, even at 18, was it was hard. I knew it was hard. Absolutely. I knew it was going to be freaking work. I just didn't know how much work it was going to be. I just knew it was going to be a lot of work. So it's like, if you understand that and you're prepared to do all the work and you're prepared to understand, well, one of the biggest things that I had to learn in my marriage is that it's not her. 90% of the problems that were caused were not, don't get me wrong, she played her part. She always played her part, but I can't be like, oh yeah, it's you. It's your fault. You got to fix this. Every single time I was like, man, you have to fix it. And that was coming from my immature, victimizing young self or whatever. It was a problem. I started realizing that it had to be, I have to fix it. No, I have to fix whatever it is that's in me before I can worry about whatever it is in you. And that's the only thing that comes with maturity. And so if you're not mature enough to fully see that you play a part, then that's it. That's the only reason why I would say don't get married. Outside of that, if you can, because everybody's marriage is different. Everybody, in my honest opinion, I feel like if you don't, I always grew up with the knowing or with the saying, you have to go through hell to get to heaven. So at some point, at some point in your marriage, you're gonna go through hell. Like you have to. You have to, because that's how you start to meet the real people. You meet your real self and other people in hell. That's when you'll start to see what you're really made out of. When you're going through hell, you're going through it. You're gonna find out who's there for you, who's not there for you, how much you're good for yourself. And it's like that in marriage. In marriage, you find out. But in marriage, you don't get to be like, all right, you're not there for me. No, when you're in marriage, you have to be ready to understand that the other person's going to go through hell. Yeah, and you got to stick with them. That me and my wife have been talking about it a lot recently because we feel like the infidelities that we went through when we were younger, we went through them to talk about it now to help other people, because we're seeing that a lot of people are going through infidelity. It's like one of the most common things in marriage, and it's like that's because we don't know. We don't know. We don't know anything. We don't know what the purposes of sex. We don't know what the purposes of intimate. We don't know the purposes, because we just look at the outer things of what society has showed us about marriage. That everybody shows you the pretty side. You get to see all the good stuff, but it's like, really, no. Are you really with it down to stick it out?
One thing you said that was very interesting is that earlier on you talked about how you and your wife started off as friends. You were very good friends before you started dating. And then whilst you were dating, you then felt that, yes, she's the one I want to marry. And I definitely would see her becoming a wife and a mother to my kids. Now, let's talk about this, because I feel that in the midst of the pandemic or the aftermath of the pandemic, we've had a lot of people online dating, just start things because out of sheer loneliness or whatever it may be, where it's like, okay, I need to get with someone. I need to be with someone. I need to get in a relationship. I need to get married because it looks nice. The Instagram pictures look nice. The videos I'm seeing look nice. So I just want to be that. And I want us to talk about this idea of, because I feel that some people are so lost in the idea of marriage as opposed to commitment in marriage. So talk us through like the area of relationship in terms of friendship, progressing to dating, because those are steps people I think sometimes miss. Friendship, dating, marriage, or prior to marriage, being serious and ready for the commitment, then marriage. What was that like, and what do you have to say about that?
Man, I think that's the key. That's one of the biggest keys right there. Is those two words, friendship and commitment. Like the base, the reason why my marriage, I feel like, really got through everything that it got through was because our foundation was friendship. Before everything else, like that, my wife has seen me be with other girls. She's seen me depressed. I've seen her be with other dudes or whatever. We've literally, like, we've seen each other hurt. We've seen each other sad. We've seen each other happy. We had a real good foundation of friendship that was built. And then on top of that foundation, we had a foundation of God. We both were heavy in the church. When we first started getting together, we were just reading, we were studying a lot about going to church together, doing all that stuff. Like our foundation was very tight. And that's like, I feel like that's the key thing right there, is having that a real good friendship foundation. And then of course having God on it. And then after that, after you have those two things, then you have to slap commitment to it. And then you have like a nice tight, honestly, you put it like that, you have a nice little sandwich. You put friendship right there on the bottom. You put your glue right there in the middle, and the commitment, and then you stick it all together. And literally, that's how you'll keep it, because you have to be friends when things get hard, and you don't have, like, one of the things that my wife used to say that I didn't had was, she would be like, "You're the only human contact, the only adult interaction I get throughout the day." And I was like, "Well, yeah, of course you don't. I'm the only adult interaction you get. You don't work, duh." But then interaction I get it. We have to be friends. Because if I come home and we can't talk about nothing, we can't sit down and just BS for an hour, then there's a problem. It's not gonna last long, because what happens on those days where you don't want to mess around? What happens on those days where we can't be intimate? What happens on those days where you can't do all the fun things that you want to do? You still have to be able to have a friendship. You have to. Because if you can't, if your spouse isn't your friend, it's miserable. It's like it's not. And we've had that. We've had points in time where it's like, we ain't even friends right now. Like we so on edge right now. She don't like me. We're not friends right now. It's like, it's lonely. It's like I wouldn't want to imagine going through that, to marry someone that you're not friends with. You don't have a good friendship with, because you don't know somebody until you will find out. The funniest thing to me is always when people get married and they're like, "Oh my God, she does this, that, and the third." And I'm like, I'm looking at them. I have like 6 friends, and I'm like, but she does it because you do this, that, and the third. And they're like, oh, no, I don't, but she did it first. But I'm like, nah, bro, you don't, what you're missing is that your wife is your reflection. She's your literal reflection. Ooh. Like y'all done got married. She's now your reflection. So if you can't be friends with your reflection, that's probably because you're doing something wrong or y'all shouldn't have been together in the first place.
How was that like being a dad at the age of 18? You at the age of 18 or 19, you had your child, your first son?
Like 18. Yeah, he was 8. I was 18. He was born 2 months before I turned 19. So yeah, 18.
So how was that like? Because not only are you a husband now, you're also a father in the same, more or less, year of your marriage. Yeah. So how was that? And how did you deal with that?
Man, it was hard. It was hard, and it was hard because of commitment, honestly, because of the word commitment. It was hard. I had so many commitments at that time. It was like, dude, I can't even, I'm fully committed. I wanted to be fully committed to my family. Yeah. But I'm 200 miles away and I'm under contract. So I can't be fully committed to my family. I got to be fully committed to this job that I don't care about, that doesn't care about me. I got to be fully committed to now driving 200 miles to go see my family. It was hard. It was literally dealing with, I felt like, man, like now looking back at it, I felt like my commitments were like beating my ass. We're like trying to just literally physically kick my butt. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was. I was overcommitted. And it didn't feel like I was overcommitted, but it was like I was. Something had to, in the military, one of the things that I know, like, it's like the most common thing is divorce. Divorce is so damn common in the military, it's not even funny. Okay. And it's literally because of that overcommitment thing. You have to either be committed to the job or you have to be committed to your family because they both require so much damn, like if you commit to both of them, then you might as well just forget about committing to yourself at that point because you're not gonna have time. You're gonna be running around. Yeah. And so like at 18, it was just like it was depressing. And that was the part. It wasn't like, it was literally building my strength. It was working those muscles. But it sucked. It sucked in the moment. It really sucked in the moment because it was just like I couldn't see the bigger picture. I couldn't see 8 years from now. I couldn't envision where I am now to get, or what it would take to get here. But like in the moment, it was just like literally like I'm overcommitted. I wanted to do everything. I wanted to spend time with my wife. I wanted to spend time with my son. I wanted to be a good Marine. I wanted to be good on my job. I wanted to know my stuff. But it was just like I don't have time. I don't have energy. And then it would turn into days would be like, well, if I'm so overcommitted and overwhelmed, I'm not gonna do anything. And it's like that doesn't work either. So like it was hard. It was really hard. And it wasn't even like, it was mentally hard. And that was the biggest thing. It was mentally hard. It was something that I had to mentally start changing. I had to grow. And that's why I feel like it's so important being committed, because you have to, like, you literally had to, at that point at 18, I think was really one of the first times where I really sat down. I was like, all right, I've now made these decisions. I'm now committed to this. I have to step up. Like there's no going back. Okay. I have to step up. And it's like, yeah, it's really hard. Like there's not another really good word for it. It's difficult. It is a process, but it's one of those processes that if you go through it, you will get to the other side. I had wrote a verse because me and my wife, we do music. Now we do music together, which is awesome. Nice. So we did this song. It's called Positive Energy. And I had wrote this line, and it goes basically, higher resistance leads to higher power. And I remember learning about that in like electrical theory and like basic like science and whatnot. The more resistance you have, it's because you have it's a greater power source. You need more resistance or more power to get through the resistance. Yeah. So if you have higher resistance, you have one or two options. Either you're gonna let the resistance stop you, or you're gonna raise your energy, raise your levels, and you're gonna push through. And that's literally what marriage continues to do. Marriage gives you resistance. It puts resistance right in your face. And it's like, all right, either you overcome these obstacles and you push through and you're going to get better, or you just stay there, get stagnant.
I like the fact of that, because it's so poignant in this time that we're in, because it's easy for people to say, I want to do this, I'm going to do this, I want to do this. But the question is, I like one quote I heard one time. I can't remember who quoted it. Commitment is doing what you said you would do long after the mood you said it in has gone past. Like when I heard that, like for the listeners, if you're listening right now, I'll say that again. Commitment is doing what you said you were going to do long after the mood you said it in has gone. And it's like, when you think about that, it means that before you make a commitment, be ready to do it, even when you don't feel like it, because that's exactly what it is. And for you, I'm really interested in, like, the next facet of the conversation is the being a young father, a teenage father, let's put it that way, because you were still 18, 19, a teenage father, and now the father of 2 more kids, now a total of 3. How did that, because when you think about in your first year, most people in the first year of marriage, of course, maybe they may have a baby in the first year, but sometimes they take the time to kind of get to know each other, spend more quality time, husband and wife, the husbandry, and all of that relationship. But not only were you working to over 200 miles away, you're also not even able to build that because of tensions that would happen in the house and not liking your job. How did that affect fatherhood with your child? Or did it affect that? Or how did you really work that through? Because we see that a lot in young people that get married, that's still trying to figure their life out and have so much they're trying to sort out. How did you both deal with that?
Honestly, my son, I have to say my oldest son, although for like the first year and some change, we weren't really like physically, like it's I want to say it was like the catalyst to my change. It's like the biggest catalyst to my change, because what I started realizing early in, especially at being a teenage father, was that I didn't have the answers like I thought I did. Like I thought I had a lot more answers than I did. And I realized, like, no, I really don't have a lot of these answers. I know I can solve problems and I'm good, but I don't have these answers. So my thing was always, I don't want to ruin my kids. Like I was just like, I don't want to ruin my son. I don't want them to grow up being forced to think a certain way, or thinking that this is thinking that I have all the answers, thinking that I know everything. Like I don't want him to think that, hey, dad, you know everything. Dad, you got to know everything. No, I want him to always think like, son, I'm on a journey too. You're my son, but I'm on a journey with you. Like we're gonna learn. We're learning life together. Because it was always like, if I tell you, I don't want to screw you up. I don't want you to get there and think I have a lot of. I always knew I had a lot of my own issues, my own personal things that I still had to work out. And it was like, being that I'm a teenage father, that was one of them. I was like, I became a teenage father. So I was like, okay, this is already right here. This is one of these mistakes that you need to avoid, because you don't need to get down this road and go through all this crap I'm about to go through. So it was always like, okay, if I'm going to go through, that's literally how I always looked at it. Whatever I'm going to go through, I need to be the best example for my son. And I need to make sure that I overcome it so that he can do it. And so that's when it started. It drove me. It literally drove me, because it was like, okay, I got to be a better. It was literally, I got to be a better Marine, because first off, you're my son. You got to be proud of me. I got to make sure you're proud of me. You got to know daddy's a dope. Daddy's out here killing it. Daddy's doing this thing. And then it was like, all right, I got to be a really good husband, because you need to know how to treat women. You can't have disrespect when growing up. You're not going to grow up disrespect women. We're not going to have that. So that means that I have to make sure I'm not showing you anything wrong. So I got to get all my stuff. And it was just like, it was little bits of that. A lot of that. A lot of, I would look at him and I would see how pure he was, and how innocent he was, and how much he just loved the world. And at being 18, I was still young. So I was like, man, like it kind of felt like, yeah, it was like, I missed that. Almost in a sense, it was like, I missed having that purity. I've seen so much crap in this world at 18. up to being 18. I've seen so much. I feel like I'm a grown ass man, and I'm like, I didn't feel like I had too much guidance. So it was always like, I have to do better. If I don't do better, you're gonna follow the same mistakes. And that was like growing up. That was always my thing. I've never wanted anyone to deal with any of the stuff that I ever dealt with, because I dealt just a lot of crap. So it was like, you're my son, you can't do this. So whatever it is that I'm gonna do, or whatever I have to do, I'm gonna do it. Like, honestly, he was my first, like, the most serious commitment, because it was just like when he was born, I just knew it. It was like, you're with me for 18 years. Me and your mom might not stay together, but that doesn't shirk my responsibilities to you. That doesn't shirk anything. I'm still responsible for you. You're still my kid. You're still everything. Like, and that's just that. So it was like, I had to, like, it was like, all right, I'm committed. Whatever it is. That means, like, even to this day, honestly, a lot of the stuff that I do is just based off of my commitment to my family. And it's because, like, of how much they mean to me, how much I've realized that they mean to me, and how much I want to be able to give back to them and serve them and do.
Okay, I like the fact that you brought that up, because it's one of those things where sometimes, like, we all know that idea of the sins of the fathers. What we sometimes repeat the very things we're running away from, and I think for me, it's the true message here is the commitment issue, the commitment area. Like, commitment is so powerful, but area of commitment, I think, isn't addressed enough when it comes to relationship buildings and families and husbands and wives. And because I want us to dig a bit more into the fatherhood element of it, let's talk about, what was your relationship like with your father growing up, and how has that influenced your current relationship with your kids?
So my biological dad, was uncommitted. he is a very I love him, but he's a very uncommitted man. Like, he's just he has, and it's crazy because, like, I can see it now as an adult, that these are the issues and the areas that he had trouble with, and why he dealt with whatever issues he dealt with. And it's literally because of commitment. He so he was always, like, in and out of my life. He would literally come in. I think the first time he, like, left when I was maybe 1 or 2, something like that. And then I think I talked to him when I was like 6. And then the next time I remember, like, really talking to him, I was 16. And so even to this day, like, we talk on, I haven't talked to him, I think, in like 2.5 months or something like that, because I don't even know why. He ain't been picking up his phone, ain't been calling me, whatever it is. He's uncommitted. And so I had that view from my biological father. And then I had my stepfather, who was very committed. That man,
Yeah,
that he worked a full-time job. He's literally been working since he came into my family and started helping take care of my mom. So he's been working the whole entire time. He's been taking care of us. He was always committed. He took me when it came to sports. He was very involved with my sports. I remember I think it was like the only year that, like, I ever made it to, like, championship or something like that for baseball when we were young, was him. He was coaching us. He was coaching us and doing a full-time job. Yeah, dude. And so, like I learned a lot of commitment from him. And that's like, that's honestly the saving grace, is because I learned commitment from him. Because, like, I didn't have, like, if it wasn't for him and how involved he was. I've been working on a book about engaged fatherhood. And, like, the more and more I've been thinking about it and writing it, more and more I've been seeing that how much of an impact his involvement really was, because he's the one who showed me what it meant to be committed to somebody. He was the one who he literally, like, it was like, he wasn't perfect by any means, and he didn't always have the answers either. He wasn't always there, and that's everybody, it's every father. There's no one that's gonna have that. But what he did do, he never gave up on me. He always was willing to go the extra mile to do something for me, or to make sure that I was okay, or whatever it was. And that, like looking back, especially now being an adult, being able to see that, like, it's his commitment level. Like you were saying, commitment's not talked about enough. And honestly, it's like it's the biggest thing. Like, how committed are you? Because that's going to decide to what you're going to do. That's going to decide to whether or not you're going to get up, you're going to go be there for that person or whatever it is. Like, especially in fatherhood, like when you really commit yourself as a father, like when you, and that's like the greatest joy about it, is when you really buckle down and commit yourself as a father, you start to see that you change. Like I've seen me and my dad or my stepdads, even me and my regular dad, my biological dad, even our relationship has changed and developed more and grown more as we've kind of committed more to each other and committed more to the relationship.
That's it, committed. And this is the.
Oh, you muted yourself.
Sorry, this is. So this
Wait,
is very powerful.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Excellent. The what I really wanted to know now is because a lot of people listening to this are either fathers or husbands expectant, or maybe young people that are really interested, are really passionate, and look at aspiring fathers, aspiring husbands. I wanted you to kind of give yours as we come to bring this together now. What does fatherhood mean to you, and what do people need to be aware of when thinking about it or going towards fatherhood?
So fatherhood to me is, I think I said this last time, it's like it's akin to, so I think, I don't know, it's sad, I should know more about it. I need to go back and do some more reading about it. But I believe in the Bible, it talks about the priesthood of Melchizedek. And what that is, essentially being a royal priesthood, and how all everything that goes into that. I find fatherhood akin to that. I literally find fatherhood to be it's a royal priesthood, especially if you do it right. It's something that it can be a tool to elevate you, to elevate your kids. It can be a tool to change the world if honestly used correctly. And it's like the power of fatherhood to just make changes. Every man knows. I mean, I'm pretty sure men knows for the most part. Once you have a kid, shit changes. Shit just automatically. At the very least, you're gonna go into a fight or flight protective mode. Like, yo, bro, you ain't touching my kid. I'm gonna do whatever it is. That's what you're gonna turn into. That your hormones, everything starts changing, and it literally starts. The longer you're a father, you have two options. Either you're going to change and grow, or you're not. Those are your two options, because your kids are your child. That's what they are. That's what they're literally here to force you to grow. You cannot be a child raising a child, because if you are, you're going to get into it. That's why we have so much toxicity between our parents and our kids now, between two generations now, because you have adults that didn't actually grow up. They're just children in adult bodies. And it's like, and they have children. And so either you got children arguing with children, but I'm just a bigger child than you. So
you said you got children arguing with children. Come on.
That's literally how, man, dude. I remember like me and my wife will talk about it now, like, because we laugh. Like my mom called me, or has called me her younger brother several times. Like, she'll be like, you're like a younger brother, because she had me so young. And I look at my oldest son, and I'm just like, man, my mom was right. You're like a younger brother to me. Like, I'm like, you're because I'm conscious. Like, when he was born, I was conscious that I was still a child. I was still a child but I was becoming a man. But it's like, when you start looking at that, it's like, man, I'm a child. You're still a child. If I don't become a man, then all these, like, me and my son we'll get into arguments today. And I'll be like, I'll look at him, I'm like, I'm clearly getting on your nerves. Like, I'm clearly getting on your nerves. Like, I'm as if I'm your older brother right now. But we have to go at this right now. It's like I still have my childhood moments, of course, too. And like, I look at him, but I'm just like, you're like me. You haven't matured yet. You haven't gone through or grown up past this yet. You're doing the same thing that you see me doing, and I'm getting mad at you doing it. So I'm like, we're just two children arguing, going back and forth right now. I'm like, you're learning from me. I can't be mad at you. So I look at how many, like, how often that is, and literally, it's like you have two options. You choose to either, I'm going to stay in this childish path. I'm going to keep acting like a child and go, and I'm going to blame my child and do whatever it is, or I'm going to realize that I'm the adult. I have to grow up. I have to step up. I think it was Einstein who said, no problem can be solved at the same level of consciousness it was at. So it's like, I have to grow. I ain't got no other choice. Yeah. I gotta go to the higher level. I have to go. And if you don't go, then it's like, all right, then don't go. And you're going to watch your kids. You're going to stay at the same level. Or what's going to happen is this is always the fun one. Your kids are going to surpass you. And when your kids surpass you and they're still kids and they're looking at you like you're no longer at my level, they start thinking that they hot stuff. They can do it. They don't need you. They can do whatever they want. And then you got trouble. And then you got trouble. And it's like, you don't either you keep on racing to stay ahead, to stay. Like, one of the things I always told myself, my kids, there's never going to be a point where they get older and they think that they can beat me up. Ever. Don't think about it. You're going to be seeing daddy going to be 45 and I'll be in there with 60-pound weights, ripped, looking, punching the bag. You go think twice before you come and step to me, thinking you a grown man. Like,
don't you
think
dare.
Twice. Right. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. And it's like, I just got it. Like, hey, just so that you know, like, you got to stay. So you know, you don't mess with your dad, but you also don't go mess with anybody else in the world. You know that there's other people better. There's still other people out there. Yeah, respect. Exactly. Keep it. Have it. And it's like I can't. One thing that I always knew growing up was, or especially when I would do like manage people in music, one thing that I learned from managing people in music was I cannot expect you to do something that I'm not going to do. One of the biggest things that I used to hate when we would go to the studio was my artists would not memorize their verse. They would go in and they wouldn't memorize their stuff and we'd be taking 30 takes. And I was like, just like, because you didn't memorize it. But then I would go in the studio and I wouldn't have my stuff memorized. And I'm looking like, man, I look like a hypocrite if I tell you need to step it up, and you're looking at my stuff like, but you're not doing nothing. You're not. Why would I? You're telling me what to do. And I used to hate that when my parents used to do stuff. My parents used to be like, eat your vegetables. And I'm looking at their plate like, you got French fries.
Yours.
Yeah. Like, what you mean?
Oh, nah. You need it more than I do. They'll put that in your plate. You need it more than I do. You're still growing.
You eat this. I don't need this.
No, but like, honestly, I think it's so important because I think we were talking about it today in a church during the service. Pastor said something about you know how people say kids don't do what you say, they do what you do. And it's so powerful and so important. And I know it's like a very common phrase where people say, you know, people don't do what you say, they do what you do. But we need to remember how important it is, even as fathers, as men in general, in terms of when we talk about, like, I've had to take some time to this. The last few episodes, conversations, I've always talked about men being open about what they're going through. Like, it's one thing to say it, but when people see you actually doing it, it gives them room to do it. And it's so powerful. And I think it's so important. And this, we talked a lot, we've messaged, we've talked, and we had a long conversation last time. And one thing I really want you to, as we're bringing this to a close, what would I know we talked about advice to young people that are interested in marriage or young fathers. If you could wrap it up, your 8 years of experience, give us 3 lessons that you've learned to young people that are interested in aspiring to early marriage as young people, or people that are existing fathers that may not be young, but maybe just, you know, elderly fathers. What would you give an advice? So you can make that 3 different people for 3 different advice. First of all, for those that are single and not even that are interested in being fathers and not even in their journey, just young men. Second, the second advice could be to people that are young fathers or young aspiring fathers or young aspiring husbands. And the third is just for those that are already married, existing fathers. You can make it 1 point, but I just wanted one that could address each of those audience.
Okay. No, I got 3 for that. I'm gonna start. So I'll start with for those that are already married. So for those that are already married, my biggest thing would be just literally to stay married. It's the phrase is always, it's cheaper to keep her, but people don't really understand the depth to that phrase. It's cheaper on your emotions. It's cheaper on your body. It's cheaper on your. It's cheaper on everything because honestly, it's like I said earlier, the resistance. If it's worth it and you're getting resistance, then that's a good thing. That means that there's something powerful in it. We all, especially when we get married, too often we get into it and we look to be happy ourselves. We look for our own happiness. We look for literally our own satisfaction. And we forget that one of the biggest and greatest joys of this world is giving satisfaction and happiness to other people, is being their source of it. And so when you start to look at your marriage like that, like I look at my marriage now as not what is my wife doing to make me happy. I look at it literally as what have I done today to put a smile on her face? What have I done today to show her that I'm committed, to show her that I love her? Because life is too short, and everyone is experiencing that these days. We all are starting to realize life is too short. But two, life is too short. If you married the person, then obviously there was something there at one point. Find it, rekindle it. Fires go out and they can get rekindled again. You just got to put in the work. So make sure you put in the work. For young aspiring fathers and aspiring parents, my biggest thing, or aspiring husbands, would be to understand that everybody's human. Everybody is freaking human, and they're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna make mistakes. Understand their mistakes. Stop taking everything so damn personal. Like literally, don't take it personal, because if you take it personal as a personal attack, that's when you get hurt. When you take it as they're personally trying to hurt me, people get hurt. That's what happens. People get love is a battlefield. So if you're going to enter into it, be prepared to get hurt, but be prepared to get hurt and get over it. Not show any hard feelings about it. Be sad, but push through, because at the end of the day, that's what it's for. It's not like, man, marriage and fatherhood is not all fun and games. The most joyous things about it come from pain. If you don't have pain, then you won't get to see the brighter side. It's like you won't, because you won't have ever gone through anything. You won't have ever seen nothing. And then for just young men in general, and take your time. Take your time and have a thirst for knowledge. Have a thirst for knowledge. Have a thirst for understanding of who you are. Right. Because like it's crazy. Like they say it, that you're not going to be the same person at 18 and you are when you're 25. But like me being married at 18 and then me being at 25 and still being married and having another person look at me and tell me you're not the same. Like, oh no, dude, you don't realize that you're not the same. You're not going to be the same. So give yourself time. Give yourself the time that you need to grow, to experience, to become who you are. Because it doesn't, if you don't have to get married, if you don't even know that it's the one, like if it's not your time, it's not your time. My time was early. Some people's time is early. Some people know. But if it's not your time, don't let it be your time. Don't rush it. Focus on you. Too often we don't focus on fixing and healing ourselves. And then we get into something, and broken people break people. It's just that simple. Broken people break people. And it's a lot harder it can be done. Like, don't get it twisted. It can be done. Broken people can heal people. You can heal together, all that. But it is a lot more difficult when you get into something broken. Fix yourself. Make sure you get into it healed, because then you ain't got to suffer.
I think that's such a great place to wrap it up, because I like what you said. Broken people break people. Because I used to tell my mentees, hurt people, because unless you fix yourself, like you think about someone that's all of a sudden in the day you see them, they're just so sad and so angry and just angry at you. There must have been something. And it's so important. We keep saying it on the podcast every single time, to the men listening, and even to, if you're not a man listening, but just think in general, the idea of growth means that something, whatever is killing it, needs to be put away. And you need to go to the root of things. That's why you cut away the weed around the plant, to allow it to grow, because the weed will keep covering it, will keep killing it. And sometimes you don't even see the weed underneath till it comes up and it's too late.
Exactly. And that's literally it right there. You don't see it until it's too late.
For those that are just coming to find out about Devonte, how can they get in touch? I know you've got Instagram. I want you to tell us more about how can they get in touch with you and what is it that you can offer them in terms of when they do get in touch, what could people reach out to you for or collaborate
Oh
and all
man.
sorts of stuff.
So or not for right now, for to reach out to me, get in touch with me, please hit me up on Instagram. Right now, that's like the best thing is at They Call Me Papa Bennett. We're working on getting our website and everything going. But that They Call Me Papa Bennett and the Bennett Gang, those are where you're gonna find me. And please come check us out because we right now we're really starting to dig into our marriage advice, starting to be more open with our marriage, what we've gone through. We come through, we talk about fatherhood, we talk about parenthood, we talk about motivation, we're talking about knowledge of self, knowledge, law, everything. Because like I said, it's to be a good husband and a good father, to be a good person. That's where we want the world to be. My goal and my wife's goal is to make better parents, to make better husbands and wives, and then to eventually make better children, which is going to make better world, make the world better. Because it's all a growing experience. So please come check us out. Come get some healthy tips from healthy marriage. We just talked about that today. Stop taking toxic marriage advice. Come get some good marriage advice. Stop talking to toxic friends.
No, but I'm definitely going to put that in the description. And, I follow yourself and your wife. And it's one of those things where, again, They Call Me Papa Bennett, They Call Me, and then They Call Me Mama Bennett. And you got the Bennett gang. So it's like, I love the transparency you guys have. But guys, listen, don't take my word for it. Follow them on Instagram so you can find out more. And you said you guys are gonna be launching a website soon.
Yep, very soon.
So definitely stay connected with them so you know when that comes out. But we're gonna be eventually what we're gonna try and do. Eventually, we're gonna try and push towards having a live session where we have people bring in live in the Q&A. I think it's gonna be interesting to see a lot of the questions that come in. And if you do have any questions or any interest in any areas that you want to speak to, They Call Me Papa Bennett or Devonte, aka Devonte, send across to us at thejourneytofatherhood@gmail.com. See, I got my words twisted. thejourneytofatherhood@gmail.com, or just message us on Instagram at Journey to Fatherhood. Again, it's always amazing speaking to you, brother. It's like it's refreshing talking to you because we're around the same age, 25, 26, and it's just amazing all that you've accomplished so far and the growth that you keep on representing. And it's amazing to just be able to have this friendship and learning from you and your wife and just seeing your growth together. It's really something special. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast today, man. I really appreciate it.
Hey man, anytime. I greatly appreciate you having me here. Like I told you last time, this is I love this. I love that you have this. I love this. Like this is powerful. I love it.
No, I really appreciate it. I know it's what, let me guess, it's what, 8:00 now in your area where you're 7:30?
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that?
Yeah, it's like 7:30. Yep, 7:37. Oh wow, 7:37.
I really appreciate you staying and waking up this morning to do this. And
oh man, of course.
It means a lot. But I'll definitely stay in touch. And guys, one more time, follow him on Instagram at They Call Me Papa Bennett, and follow the wife at They Call Me Mama Bennett. Listen, you're going to see a lot of content. I'm loving the content and the conversations you're having on that platform on Instagram. It's amazing. And yeah, we're going to talk later, but thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh man, thank you for having me. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Take care, then.
Have a good one, man.
Take care.
And guys, that's it. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the episode. I really want to hear your questions because Devonte and I, we had a lot of time just thinking about what kind of information would be great for you. So if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're listening, please make sure you follow us on Spotify. Hit the follow button. Make sure that you've got a notification alert so that you're alerted every week. Once again, your support means everything. Because the more you like, the more you download, with every download, with every follow, it causes our podcast to be more discoverable so that the message can go out to the right people and more people. If you want to get connected with us on Twitter at J2Fatherhood, Instagram, follow us at Journey to Fatherhood. Alternatively, you could just join our page on Facebook, which is Journey to Fatherhood Podcast. We're really working on bringing out some more great content. Make sure you tune in next week for another amazing conversation. Next week we have Michael. We have Mike Omani who's going to be talking about some amazing tips on singleness, appreciating that time, leadership, and so much more. Looking forward to seeing you next week. Take care.